All right. So here we go. We are gonna do our, looking at the 3 pillars of health that we took on, and we're going into our 4th week. Mindset is always going to be number one, right? Because without mindset, we don't have any legs to stand on. It's like trying to balance a stool on 2 legs, right? Um, Nutrition, we need to know what's going in. It's super important that we understand. And as I said, we're going to start to build off that and learn a little bit deeper about the nutritional part of it. But we got to be eating, and we got to be eating like balance. Balanced is so huge. And that's why when we start this program, we just I'm literally taking you baby steps, 3 meals a day. That's it. Right. Look at staying away from, takeout and drive-throughs and all those things. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we move down my list of things, because I have to keep notes because it's hard to remember all the things. And then movement. And I did a post yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw it in the SolleFit challenge or whatever, but like we chose movement in place of exercise for a very, very specific reason. Who likes the word exercise? I do it all the time and I hate the word. I do not like the word, and most people don't. Most people, and exercise is associated with weight loss, right? Generally, for the most part, until you have a mindset shift and you get the true meaning behind what exercise is. We chose movement for because it doesn't have to be an all out exhausting, hateful activity, right? Movement, and the reason why is because movement actually is what gets your lymphatic system flowing, right? If your lymphatic system is not flowing, your organs can't operate properly. Your body cannot heal. The toxins that are building up cannot be released, all that stuff. So I don't care if you walk to your mailbox 10 times a day. I don't care if you walk from one end of your street to the other. I don't know how big or little your street is, so that could be a big task. But some sort of movement has to happen for your body, not even putting weight loss in, right? Movement has to happen for your body to actually serve itself, okay, and function properly. So there is like a behind the scenes reason for movement. Like I said, taking weight loss completely out. And you guys, we talked a little bit earlier about creating the lifestyle, right? A lifestyle is going to beat out a diet long term every single time. And Nikki shared and Sue shared, about doing something else. I'm pretty sure we've all tried other things, right? And yet we're still here trying to learn, right? So I acknowledge you guys for that. Um, and what happens, we're all getting, we're not getting younger, right? We're growing up, we're adulting, we're doing the things. And what happens is when we get older, our body composition actually changes, right? So what happens is our lean muscle decreases, wah, wah, and our fat increases. So that is a natural thing that happens, you guys. Okay. That is a natural thing that happens in your body. Right. So what we need to do is we need to be able to work with that. Um, and another thing, and I'll touch on this a little bit more too, is the toxins in our body, right? And we get toxins unless you're making your own laundry detergent, not breathing the air outside, growing your own vegetables in a greenhouse, unless you're literally like living in a bubble, you're getting toxins. It's just bottom line, right? But what happens is those toxins love to hang out, and they feed on, and they're very, very comfortable in our fat cells, right? But what happens is it's a vicious cycle what happens is your body is trying to protect itself from the toxins, right? And what our body protects ourselves from the toxins with is fat. Yet the toxins love the fat, so they try to hang on. So it's literally a vicious cycle. So what we can do to kind of decrease that is try to limit the toxins that we're actually putting in our body which is also takeout, processed, all those things, right? Sugar is a killer. Okay. Um, so gut health can be a huge barrier in weight loss. So a lot of you guys, you guys are all very familiar with Soul, and that's why I will always take on gut health first. That's why we do Bella first. That's why we do that, because we need to build and balance and create a healthy gut so that our gut can support us in our weight loss. Okay. And you've heard me say before, probably a million times, that the vagus nerve goes from your gut to your brain, not from your brain to your gut. So your gut is the boss of all things. Your gut is the boss of your brain. Your gut is the boss of your mind. Your gut is the boss of your anxiety, of your depression, of your emotions, of all the things, right? So that's why we bring focus to that first. That's going to determine where you're at. Which rolls right into like emotional, like, do we know what the difference is between emotional eating and like physical eating, right? So I actually have, I'm going to show you guys a slide after I kind of go through this. And it's kind of interesting because in school we just happened to do mindful eating this week. So it was really cool. I'm like, oh, I can use that and I can use that. So one of the things that they talked about too was, with the, how it's, with weight loss, going right from, having it be a direct link to your glands, right? So if you're craving sweets and chocolates and whatnot, there's a good chance that your thyroid is imbalanced, right? If you're craving chips and salt and meat and cheeses, there's a good chance that your adrenals um, are struggling, right? So what we can do is bring some more to that. Both of those things, your thyroid and your adrenals, have a direct link to your metabolism. Okay, so that's how it's like a big huge funky circle. Um, and one of the things that really supports all those glands are adaptogens. And adaptogens are something that is in Soul, and that's what you're getting every single day. So adaptogens they are an herb that helps your body adapt to the daily stressors. They're very smart. It's kind of like an outside the box approach. Not all, just because you have herbs doesn't mean you're getting adaptogens, but adaptogens are kind of like the secret sauce. Okay. All right. And then there's a reason why we don't want to, like I said a couple weeks ago, we don't ever want to feel like we are above doing the mundane things, right? Doing the gratituding. What are the 3 things every day? Filling out your tracker, doing those things. Those are the things that are keeping us accountable, right? And like I said before, doing those things in the, checking off your list and going through your book and doing those things, you're looking at maybe 10, maybe 15 minutes, maybe, if you have to go back and read something again, right? So you're not talking about a huge amount of time to give yourself, to fulfill your commitment to yourself, right? Does that make sense? You get what I'm saying with that, right? So just do the things. So when we're eating, you guys, we want to look at, we don't want to be hungry, right? Because that's annoying, right? And we don't want to be full, because that's annoying and that feels yucky, right? But what we want to do is look at eating more foods that give us less calories. Like, have you guys seen those pictures where it's like, here's like 200 calories, or here's 800 calories of food, right, in your belly, right? Well, here's 800 calories of sugar, and here's 800 calories of like fats and, or whatever. So when we have to really look at, if we are feeling hungry and if we are feeling like we're not giving ourselves enough, just look at what are the gaps that you can fill, and when are the times that you're hungry. I also have, which I'm going to share with you guys, I have, as you heard me mention with Chris earlier, inflammation is huge. Inflammation is huge. And Sue, you're familiar with this, it can really wreak havoc on your body. So what I have, and I'll share it in the group chat, and Sue, I'll add you to the group chat. What we want to look at is being sure that when we're choosing our foods, just being able to make an educated decision and knowing which foods cause inflammation and which foods are anti-inflammatory, right? That can make a huge difference, because it could literally be between, okay, if I'm going to choose, a grain or a carb, and there's nothing wrong with carbs, you just got to choose powerfully which ones you're going to have, right? It could be between this and this. So if like, this is going to cause my body to create inflammation, this isn't, you get to make your choice, right? With that. So let's see. 3 meals a day, gratituding movement, water, and your healthy relationship with food. We talked about that a little bit before, and we'll see it in the slide around the emotional eating versus the physical eating. Food generally, if you look at, like, when we get together with people, like, how many times, let's get together, with something to eat. Chrissy, you and I, like, when we get together, we're like, okay, let's go for a drink, or like, let's meet for lunch, or everything revolves around food, right? It just does. So we relate food to fun, right? But we also relate food to guilt and shame and whatever, because sometimes after we eat something, we're like, why do we do that? Right. And we know it's going to make us feel like crap, but we do it anyway. Right. So if you're going to do that, at least have a Vertizyme or two before you do it, or right after, because it's going to help break it down and get it out. So, so like I said, we're going to be moving on to just tracking. We're not going to change anything. We're just going to track things. And so you don't have to, I know you've tracked before, but just starting, and a lot of this stuff is going to be very familiar. So if you want to jump into the tracking just to kind of, without changing anything, we can do that, and we'll talk about that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at like what it looks like to create your meals ahead of time. I have a whole grocery store boot camp that I'm gonna, like, share with you guys. So it's like, what does it look like to create our meals for the week in a plan, right? What does it look like to go get what we need for that? And what does it look like to prep that so that we can have freedom and ease throughout our week, meet our goals, choose powerfully, whatever. And when you can get to the point when you go to your fridge and you open it, and you're like, instead of being like, what do I feel like? Because if we base everything around how we feel, what will we be doing? We'd be watching Netflix and eating bonbons every day, right? But when you can switch it from, like, today, instead of like opening your fridge and being like, what do I feel like having? Instead of being like, I'm going to have the chicken stir fry, like, just choose, make your decision and have it. Like, try to disconnect that, like, the feeling and the emotion, right? When you're choosing, because if you made it, there's a good chance you're not gonna, it's like when somebody says, nobody's ever said, like, I regret doing that workout, right? Like, you're not, the chances that you're going to be like, ugh, when you choose something good and healthy that you made, that what's in it, and it's like balanced, the chances of you being like, oh, I wish I didn't eat that really wicked healthy meal. Like, you're not going to say that. Okay. Probably not. With that. So what I'm going to do is I want to share some slides with you guys. Okay. So here is, can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay. So here is kind of like going next level and looking at what are our cravings, right? So this is just going to give you a little bit more education, more power behind your choices, where you get to actually decide, right? So if you find yourself eating chocolate a lot, there's a good chance that you're needing magnesium. Okay. And a lot of these things, you're getting sources of those through what you're taking. So if you find that you're not consistent with your supplements, you may notice that you're having some of these cravings. And sometimes your body might need more, right? Because what happens is, for your body to absorb certain minerals and nutrients and whatnot, it needs all the things to kind of come together. Like, your body needs magnesium to support absorbing calcium, and vice versa, right? So we got to kind of get all the things. So if you find yourself craving chocolate, you most likely need magnesium. what is going to serve you for that is nuts, seeds, veggies, and fruit. Okay. Um, and then with sugary foods, and if you guys want to take a picture of this, you can take a picture of it. I can post it in the group or whatever. If you're craving sugary foods, right? You probably need some chromium, carbon, phosphorus, sulfur, and tryptophan, right? So you're going to look at, like, next time you're craving sugary foods, look at getting some of the fresh fruit and, broccoli, grapes, cheese, and chicken. The chicken's going to serve you in your protein too, to have you feel full. Fatty fish would be like salmon, eggs, dairy, nuts, those kind of things. And who would think, you guys, that you need to eat eggs if you're craving sugar? Right? But this is how your body works. It's just crazy. Have some cranberries on hand, do some cauliflower, raisins. Raisins are super sweet, totally. Sweet potatoes and spinach. Spinach is a great thing to add to your shake because it makes it look like baby poop, but it doesn't change the flavor per se, right? It doesn't have a ton of flavor. So that kind of thing. If you're craving bread, pasta, or other carbs, right, you probably need some nitrogen. So look at, like, up in your protein. And this is another reason, you guys, why I want you to track, because protein, fats, carbs, and protein, they all need each other, right? So we want to look at if we're getting enough of those, right? And where we're at, because if we're not getting, chances are generally we're usually not getting enough, which is going to have us be in a nutrient deficit. And that is going to cause cravings and all the things. Okay. So breads, pasta, carbs, like craving carbs is a thing, you guys, right? And I know it doesn't just happen in my house. But look at, like, up in your protein, meat, fatty fish, again, salmon, nuts, beans, chia seeds. Chia seeds are great to put in are great to put in shakes and whatnot. Oily foods, you need some calcium, so look at having some cheese, green leafy vegetables. Again, green leafy vegetables. If you make spinach a staple in your day and put it in your shake, or, like I do generally for my salads, I'll do it over spinach. That's an easy way for me to get in the vegetables, and whatnot. Salty foods, you probably need some chloride and some silicon. So fatty fish, goat's milk, cashews, nuts, and seeds. So you can kind of see, you guys, can you see the combination between fats, carbs, and protein in here, of how having a balanced amount of those can really make a difference in supporting the cravings. Okay. All right. This next one I think is just the run one. I mean, walking. Super good. But look at this. This is what I talked about. Let me see if I can. I don't know if I can. Okay. Can you guys see that? Remember what we talked about with our gut, right? Gut affects our whole body, digestive issues, constipation, diarrhea, irritable bowel disease, IBS, the whole thing. So if we're dealing with, in our brain with depression, anxiety, brain fog, sleep, right? We want to check our gut health. And a lot of people, you guys, have leaky gut and don't know it. And if anybody tells you that you have to deal with that and it can't be healed, that is not the truth. Okay. We can heal leaky gut. Okay. We just have to bring in the balance of what we need. Thyroid, Hashimoto's, hypothyroid system, Graves' disease, all that. We can support that, balancing that out through the gut. Cardiometabolic, right? All those things right there, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, hypertension, insulin resistance, all those things we can support through the gut. Hormone imbalance, huge, huge, huge. Hormones, everything, almost everything is a hormone, you guys. Everything. So, this can definitely have a huge imbalance too, with the weight gain. It it can definitely bring in like the sugar and the salt craving when things are unbalanced, right? So this is why I say when we look at the cravings, what we want to do is we want to look a little bit deeper to see where they may be stemming from, because it's just like anything else. Instead of, treating a symptom, and putting a Band-Aid on it, right? We're going to go to the root cause and support that. Okay. Um, and bones and joints, rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, osteoporosis. If we take on, balance in our gut, and really look at supporting and giving our body, like filling in the gaps. That's what you guys are doing with Soul. You're filling in the gaps of what we can't get through our food. Not just because we may or may not be eating the right things, but our food literally does not have the nutritional value that it used to, and it does not have the nutritional value of what our bodies need. Okay. Our immune system, food sensitivities, headaches, fatigue, all that. You guys, I do a hair analysis, and it it looks at what sensitivities and intolerances you have to food, environmental, all that. People end up finding out that they have sensitivities to certain foods that they had no idea. You can have a sensitivity to a healthy food, right? And it can be causing havoc inside your body, even though it's a healthy food. People think if we're eating healthy and we're eating whole foods, we're doing the right thing, which you are, and that's great. But you can still have an intolerance and a sensitivity to something that's healthy. Sometimes what happens is our bodies can develop sensitivities and intolerances because we're either having too much of that food, right? For many different reasons. So our body can, not be sensitive to red peppers before, but now I am. Well, why am I all of a sudden intolerant to them? Maybe I'm eating too many of them. Maybe they're not absorbing, maybe, all the things. So I just wanted to bring those things in to just kind of bring light to like next level around that. And then looking at, like, I'll just share some things that, with like healthy weight and looking to get to a healthy weight and then maintain a healthy weight, specifically around the thyroid. Like I said, if we're craving sweets and chocolate, we may need to dig a little bit into the thyroid. And what this says is the thyroid is responsible for many vital body functions, but the main one is metabolism. An imbalance of any of the thyroid hormones contributes greatly to weight loss issues. Okay. If you're doing, like I said, the salty chips, salt, meat, cheese, whatever, you may want to look at there may be an imbalance with your adrenals. And what this says is the adrenal glands are responsible for our fight or flight reactions and produce adrenaline when we encounter something frightening or stressful. Who has stress in their life? Right? We've all got some, yeah, we got none. No, we got no stress. So, right, Tracy. um, our adrenals get so taxed with stress, right? So taxed, right? But they also, what happens, and this is what can cause us to be super tired too, right? And we have, like, maybe we have bags and maybe our skin starts to sag a little bit, not because we're old, because we're exhausted, right? Um, and that's because of the cortisol, right? So the adrenals produce cortisol in stressful situations. So you're going to see somebody, how sometimes you'll see somebody that just, they live a very stressful life, and we all have these people, right? They live a very stressful life, and you can look at them and they just look beat down, right? They look tired, they look exhausted, right? And it's because their body is constantly producing cortisol. And when we stay in that stressful mode, like many people do, right? When we can't self-generate ourselves out of it, or we don't know what to do, we don't know how to get ourselves out of it. The cortisol levels stay like way up here. And that affects blood sugar, blood pressure, your immune system, and your metabolism, right? So when we talk about getting ourselves out of a stressful situation, right? Limiting stress, when we talk about all those things, it's not just because I want you to be happy go lucky and go skip down the path, right? I mean, yeah, that'd be fun too, but it's because literally it impacts how your body functions. Do you guys get that? How it like stress, it just, not only does it just have like, if you, are you stressed out and you don't make great choices and you have a headache and you're doing this and you're doing that, right? Maybe some people, seclude themselves, the whole thing. But it's literally, it's a vicious cycle of all the things that is literally keeping you from maintaining those goals of what you're trying so hard to reach. Okay. That's why we do gratituding. Like, don't underestimate writing those 3 things down every single day. Okay. And try to make them be different things. Okay. So those are the things that I wanted to, really just kind of touch on with you guys. We want to look at, bringing in, we've got our adaptogens, we've got the herbs, we're filling the gaps in our nutrition, right? So we want to be sure that we're being consistent with those. Getting some sort of movement. Like I said, I don't care if you walk to your mailbox 10 times. I don't care if you walk up and down your street, just do something. Okay. And just looking at where are you at with like your relationships, your relationship to food, your relationship with your family, with your friends, like all those things, all those things can bring stress. Okay. A lot of times what we're doing is we are our quote unquote fat, right, is protecting us from something. Our actions around food are generally protecting us from something. Sometimes people have a trauma. Sometimes people have a real issue with a relationship in their life that is seriously impacting, and they're just like, I don't want to deal with that right now. I don't want to deal with that. Well, your body's still dealing with it, right? And that's literally putting up a block. So when you start to, and this is me getting geeky, right, and corny, but when you look at the emotional, I want to look to, when you start to look at the emotional connection. Okay, I'm going to share, you guys bear with me for a second because I want to share this other slide with you because I want you to see where you fall in this. I lost you guys for a second. Don't go anywhere. Okay. So here, and you can take notes if you want, you can do whatever, but look at this. Okay, physical hunger, right? Physical hunger is going to come on gradually and it can be postponed. If you're like, you know what, like I want a snack, but I'm just going to wait till dinner, right? That's physical hunger. And it can be satisfied with any type of food. This is where meal prepping is going to come in handy. Like sometimes I'll open the fridge and I'll be like, I'm feeling hungry. I don't know what to have, and I know if I open the fridge versus the pantry, I'm going to make a better decision because to go for some like cut up chicken is going to serve me more than if I go for goldfish, right? That kind of thing. So it can be satisfied with any type of food. Okay. Once you're full, you stop eating. Right. This can be a mind thing too, you guys. Okay. This can be a mind thing. Like sometimes what I do is I break up my food. So I know like this little bag has, 5 ounces, right? Or has 4 ounces. I do that not to stress myself out. That gives me freedom to not have to think, right? That gives me freedom where I know I can eat a couple of this and I'm not gonna overfill myself and feel full and sick and yucky, right? Um, and then once you do feed that, right, you're not feeling guilt, because I'm like, well, I just had chicken. What is there to feel guilty about chicken? Well, if I went in and I got out the graham crackers and the peanut butter or the graham crackers and Nutella, there's a good chance I'm going to feel crappy, right? Because those are hard to put down. And I'm going to be like, why did I do that? I just ruined my dinner, right? That kind of thing. Okay. Emotional hunger. Okay. That comes on quickly. Stress, right? When I'm stressed, like I'm like, oh, I got to go for something, whatever. And it feels like you have to have something right now, right? And this is not related to blood sugar. There's a difference when you truly have a drop in your blood sugar. Okay. So this is different. And this one, when you have emotional hunger, it's specific. It's like, you know what? I really just want chips right now, or I really want this, or I really want that. Like you have a specific craving. Okay. So that is emotional. We see where the versus it can be, the emotional one, you're craving something specific. And then the physical hunger is like, it doesn't really matter. You just know you got to get something in your body. Right. And then emotional hunger is when you're kind of on autopilot when you're eating. You eat more than you normally would, and then you feel like crap, right? Because you're not feeding your body because you're hungry. You're feeding your body because it's attached to an emotion somewhere, right? It's attached to a feeling, whatever that feeling is. And it could be boredom, you guys. You could not be stressed. You could just be bored, right? Um, and then after, again, the feelings of guilt and anger, right? Like, why did I do that? That is not like, I had such a great day and I just totally flushed it down the toilet, right? So even if you find yourself, you guys doing a lot of the emotional, if you find yourself in the emotional aspect of it, right? Look at like, if you do find yourself that you're going for the graham crackers and peanut butter, right? There could be worse things, right? But you know what to do? Take out 2 graham crackers, right? Break them in half. That's giving you 4. Don't sit down with the whole pack, right? So do that. Make them ahead of time, right? Take them out, make yourself a snack and sit down with it. You're going to feel way less guilt if you do it that way because you're choosing, you're not over indulging, right? And you're probably not going to eat more than you need to. And you're not going to feel that fullness and yuckiness and whatever. And you're going to feel empowered because you chose what you were eating. You chose the amount that you were eating. So can you see how you can still kind of fall into like, pay attention? This is what I want you guys to be aware of. Pay attention this week to, are you finding yourself more on the emotional side or the physical side, right? And if you're finding yourself, like I said, I'm never going to tell you to not have that peanut butter and the graham crackers, but I want you to be aware of it, right? And maybe there's a small change that you have to make where instead of sitting down with the whole pack, you take a couple, right? Because that's going to have you be in control. That's not going to have your emotions be in control. Could you imagine, you guys, if we had no hold on our emotions and things that would come out of our mouth? Like, how many? Can you imagine how our relationships would be if we just said everything without having to think about how we were going to communicate with someone, right? Um, so does anyone have any questions around this? We do have to wrap up, but does anyone have any questions around this before we go? Okay. Did that help at all? Did that give you guys some insight as to like what you could kind of look at this week? Okay. All right. Okay, good. So I want to be sure that like I'm teaching as we're checking in and we're doing those things because these things are going to be important to kind of have in the back of your mind. Okay. Um, all right. Well, I will stop recording. And definitely, if you guys are watching this and you have any questions on anything, please don't hesitate to reach out.